Would you like your Subaru to last longer than 1 week? I have a list of 8 things that if you don't do, your Subaru is toast. And if you don't do every single one of them, you're gonna end up just like me, driving your wife's car to work rather than flexing on all of your coworkers in your beautiful shitbox. Guys, I have had 3 different Subaru WRXs over the years, and I've blown up like 5 motors. This right there, so there's a big huge hole in the block. That's right there is my rod. So I know a lot about what not to do, and I know a little bit about what to do. So today we're gonna make sure that you don't repeat my mistakes and end up in this kind of situation. A lot of these things I don't hear people talking about very much, and the first one of those being, you need to check your boost lines. If your wastegate is not getting vacuum pressure, that means that it is not going to be open, and that means that your turbo can just spool up and keep spooling up. And then, you know, your engine will just explode, which is exactly what happened to me the last time that I drove my car. Like, picture this, dude. I'm driving down the highway, I'm in 5th gear, and I'm like, you know, not really paying attention, and I just hit the gas a little bit, and just, like, the boost just, and then boom! Out the back, I just see this huge, like, plume of smoke. And yeah, so now my car is screwed. I have actually replaced the motor, and I'm dealing with a lot of other issues now that you can go and find out all about in this video. But that should be a regular thing that you constantly check. Make sure that all of the boost lines have like a zip tie at least on them, and that they're all secure, because if those fail, literally it was just a hose was just disconnected. Like, I could have just put it back, zip tied it, no problem, and it would have you know, my car would still be running totally fine now. It's just that one little mistake. I should have caught it, but I did not. The second thing, you guys, you need an air oil separator or a catch can. This is going to be a little bit more long-term of an issue, but it still will be an issue nevertheless. So the reason that you get 93 octane or as high of a grade as you can is because it has a higher detonation temperature. And so when you have oil that's coming through in your intake, it actually lowers that temperature, and you can get what's called knock, which is early detonation, where it actually causes, when the piston is going up, instead of it detonating as it's coming back down, it can actually detonate while it's coming back up and knock the piston back and forth and all around, right? And so we want to mitigate that. And a really great way of doing that is getting a catch can or an air oil separator, which basically takes as much oil as possible out of the recirculation, and it causes the air to be just a little bit more clean that's going into the engine, and maximizing your high octane. Number 3, if you have a Subaru, you know about this. You got to get the Get It Dom tune, or whatever variation of it you want to say. Basically, it's just the cylinder 4 cooling mod, where you splice into the heater core piping. Basically, it makes sure that, you know, coolant is able to flow correctly and not get too hot, because the cylinder 4 is basically just a dead zone of coolant, and it doesn't have a recirculation. It's kind of like, I like to think of it as like the appendix of the Subaru, where it's like there's not really a reason for it to be like that. And if it gets too hot and it stays in that pocket for too long, it can get infected and it'll blow up your cylinder 4. Number 4, this is more of a hack or a habit that you should get into that just will save you in the long run. What you want to do is every single time you get gas, just check your oil. It takes 30 seconds. You're already pumping gas anyway. Just because the Subarus, you know, we all know that they burn oil. So you want to make sure that you're on top of that. The easiest way to do that is every time you get gas, just get in the habit checking it. So number 5, this is one of the other ones that people don't ever talk about. The early model Subarus from 2002 to the early 10s, they are all so susceptible to rust. As we all know, we've seen, you know, the rusted out bodies and stuff. There is a really easy way to mitigate this and to actually prevent it from happening. So if you have one, if you're so lucky to have one that doesn't have this rust, what you can do is there's actually this like piece of foam that goes into those areas. So in the back quarter panel and then in the front, right behind the wheels, just go in and take that piece of foam out, because what will happen is that foam will soak in water, and then it'll just let the water sit rather than draining out. It's not really effective wanting to keep the metal protected. What it is you just want to keep it so that water can flow in and out without, you know, stagnating and sitting there. So take that foam out. Goodbye, foam. And if you are so lucky to have one of those, congratulations. Please comment down below if you have a Subaru that doesn't have any rust. And if you do, let me know about that as well. I'm really curious to actually know how many, like what the statistics are on the rustiness. Number 6, super self-explanatory. Just change your spark plugs more often. It'll save you so much in the long run. The same thing as the AOS. Or the catch can. It'll just basically make sure that you're not having detonation, and it's extremely helpful. Number 7, change your PCV valve. And number 8, guys, this is a bonus one. I figured this out, and I haven't heard a lot of other people that have figured this out. The Subarus from the same time period, from 2002 to like 2007, they all have these terrible wheel bearing issues. And what'll happen is, like, you'll press in a wheel bearing, and within like a couple months it's just wiggly again. And so, you know, I struggled with this for a long time, and I finally figured out what the culprit of it is. It's actually not the wheel bearing design, it's the way that the spindle is. What I ended up actually having to do was I just bought all new spindles. The back ones are a little bit more difficult because you have to do like the whole, like the e-brake kit all comes together as like one thing. Like the back is like the most ridiculous design I've ever seen in my life. Like the caliper bracket bolts to the e-brake and the hub, and it's all like one thing, and you have to also press in a bearing. It's like the worst design ever, and you also have to like cut stuff when you're taking it out. I did it, and it was like an absolute nightmare, but in the long run it has saved me because, you know, my wheel bearings are totally fine and they've been running strong for like 5 years. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about the wheel bearing issue, or you know, a couple other issues, you can click this video and learn a little bit more about my beautiful Subaru. I love you guys. Peace.